Welcome to another chapter of In the Keep podcast. I'm your very own prophet of the drowned god, the Motherlode. This show is all about the world of arena first-person shooters, classic FPS games, their legacies, their lineage, and the people who keep that world turning. These are the players, the developers, the streamers, the influencers. It is the will of the drowned god Cathala that our communities band together in her cathedral to frag and gib one another into oblivion for all eternity. At Quakecon, or DoomCon for those who prefer it. Obviously, we talked enough about how we had a blast, but the story of how this podcast came to be was really cool, I thought, so I'll tell it. I was invited to a birthday party down at this restaurant bar place that's inside of the Gaylord Arena, which is where QuakeCon is held. It was late at night, and it was for somebody in the Doom community, and honest to God, I still don't know whose birthday party it was, but whoever it was, man, happy birthday. It was a great time. So I met up with HumanBones and Dew of the Multiplayer Doom Federation, we're going to have some drinks, and actually Bramflix was there too, but she just drank lemonade, which is cool too, I guess. Point being, we're hanging out, talking to different people, schmoozing, all that good stuff, and just having generally good conversation. And at one point, I've got a big fat stack of In the Keep flyers to pass out, just sitting on the table with me, and Dew just kind of gets up and walks away with my stack of flyers, and he's like, "I'll be back." I'm like, "Cool." So we're chilling, having a good time. A few minutes later, he comes back with this other guy in tow. He's like, "Motherlode, you need to talk to this guy." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I stood up, shook his hand. "Nice to meet you. Who are you?" And the guy happened to be Brad Carney, or you may know him as Carnevil, the man who created Skulltag. And I was like, "Holy shit, cool. Yeah, let's do an interview." And we scheduled it for, later on. Went up to the bedroom and went around and did all that other stuff you heard me record, and then met up with these guys, voice recorder in hand, in their hotel room. We all sat down and recorded a fucking interview. It is great, man. Brad is a super, super cool guy. Not only, Skulltag, but he's the founder of Final Boss Entertainment. You may know them from Wrack, which was, a game that had a lot of controversy around it. Not that it was politically controversial or anything, but just in general, the gameplay and some of the decisions that were made about it had a little bit of controversy about them. I personally, having played a little bit of it, I enjoy it. I think it's a pretty cool game. I don't get what the hubbub is about, but I never get these things. I'm always last to the party, and I never understand. And he's working on his new game, Wrack Exoverse, which is sounds super interesting, and I have tried a little bit of it too. It seems like it's going to be really, really cool, so I hope you guys check it out. It's a roguelike tower defense first-person shooter, which, to my knowledge, hasn't existed anywhere else. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this one kind of plays out, especially carrying the Wrack name as a kind of a reimagination of what maybe Wrack could have been or would have been or is now in a sense. But I just had a great time talking to this guy. But unfortunately, the interview got cut short because I had about 35 minutes to sit down and chill before I had to go to honor my commitment to State of Quake and cast their Sac of State tournament that took place on the second night of QuakeCon or something like that. Whatever the case, I left about 35 minutes in, and then the interview was taken over by two people that I trust very much to do so. It was HumanBones and Dew, again, of Multiplayer Doom Federation, and they did an excellent job and obviously know far more about Doom than I ever could, so they really got to pick Brad's brain a little bit more about Skulltag and what went into that, and they're great interviewers in themselves. I mean, there's nothing bad I could ever say about these two guys. They're the salt of the earth, and we all had a fucking blast doing this. So, before we get into the interview, you know what's coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about some housekeeping things. definitely want to go ahead and say thank you to our supporters, Dots, Moose, Larissa, and the Apostles, and Paul and Mitch, all who give on Patreon or help explicitly, personally with the podcast, and that is so much appreciated. And you too can give a little bit of your life to the podcast. You don't have to do it monetarily. There are routes for you to do that. There's the Amazon affiliate link, Patreon, and PayPal, all of which are available on our website, inthekeep.com. But that's not expected of you. It's not something you have to do by any stretch of the imagination. If you're just here to enjoy the ride, please do so. But what I would ask of you in return is tell your friends. Tell people how awesome you think this podcast is if you think it's awesome. If you think it sucks, I don't know, keep your mouth shut or something. But I'm just kidding. But seriously, this is the best way, is to just kind of spread the word through the community, through word of mouth, and, share on your social media. If you really like a podcast that we put out, please retweet it or, post it somewhere, Facebook, whatever the hell you use. The more exposure, the better, and it all benefits the community, the AFPS community, and most importantly, the Drowned God Cathala. So if you do so, we greatly appreciate it. That's pretty much all I have as far as housekeeping goes. I know that's a short one, but let's go ahead and get it in the keep with Mr. Carnevil.
My name is Carnevil. I created the Skulltag Doom port many years ago. It had a couple different incarnations, but I think most people know the the multiplayer version of it, the Doom Source port version, and then I went on to make a Wrack, which is kind of kind of an old school inspired shooter, and now I'm working on a game called Exoverse, which is the follow up to Wrack. It's kind of a reimagining in a lot of ways of it. So
yeah, how did you get into? First of all, how did you get into Doom? But then, how did you get into developing in general?
Well, it was like when it first came out, I was like, kind of a little more grown up than a little kid, but I was pretty little. Like my cousin, whose name is actually Dave Taylor, but not the Dave Taylor who worked on Doom, introduced me to it. Actually, going even a little further back, I had a friend who had I didn't have it, but I had a friend who played it, and I would just go over to his house, and I'd be like, hey, showing the game off, and I'd be like, hey, can I play it? He'd be like, no. He'd just be playing the game himself, and I was just kind of like, it looked interesting, but I wasn't too interested in it. But it wasn't until my cousin Dave Taylor, let me actually start playing the game. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is such a great game. And I've always been, our family kind of has an engineering history to it. So, it's and making games is something I wanted to do since I was just a very little kid. So it's when this amazing game Doom came along that also had modding capabilities to it. I mean, it was just I was just taken to it just immediately and just started making levels and everything, and that was great. It was a blast. And then it wasn't until the source code was released by Carmack, 98, something like that. That I really got into it. That's when I discovered Doom World. Discovered there was a just the whole community just sprouting up around this, this amazing game. But I got into, I started tinkering out with the source code to it, doing some things that I wanted to do for a while. And it just kind of grew from there. It was just, having a great community around the game that was really interested in everything, about Doom and that I was doing, just having that feedback, that constant energy, being infused into what you're doing. It was just really inspiring and made me want to keep going and keep doing big, new, cool things. And, it just kind of blossomed and grew from there.
Awesome. So you mentioned a couple other games that you were working on. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So Wrack, it's the game that I kind of left, working on Skulltag to go make. This is going to be my, I cut my teeth on Skulltag. This is going to be my big thing. But it's kind of an old school. It's very Doom inspired. I can't really escape that. It was very fast paced. I guess the reason we started doing it is because I felt there was still this really strong demand for this old school style of game, but I thought people still wanted it, but like for some reason, like developers just weren't making it. Like they just pivoted like away from like doing this style of game, like for no reason.
What year did you start on this?
This was like 2007, 2008.
Okay, so like I would assume that you've kind of noticed the influx of recently.
It recently, with games like Dusk and Medieval and some of the others, it's experienced a resurgence lately, which I think is really cool. But it's just I just saw like just kind of an opening there. It's like there were people who wanted this style of game and they just weren't being served, and I thought this is something I really wanted. I thought a lot of other people would want that too. Which is of course important for any kind of business or anything you're doing. It's like you want to make sure there's a market out there for what you're doing. So we did that. Yeah, we kind of had our own take on it. It was a very like arcadey style of Doom. Actually, like the reason we did that is because like when Doom 3 came out, there were two ways that people kind of looked at the original Doom. There was like the actiony kind of fast paced, kind of arcadey. Like you running at 60 miles an hour is like your base movement speed. And there's like the scary version of Doom, where it's like dark and demons in closets and stuff. And it seems like Doom 3 like went that route with like the remake of Doom, and we wanted to go like the other way.
Oh, you mean Resident Evil 5?
Yeah. But it's like we wanted to go like the more arcade like direction that Doom had. So we went with like cell shading because we liked how like colorful like Doom was, especially Doom 1. I mean, Doom 2 a little more brown. But it's like we wanted like that kind of like stylized, kind of colorful look. I thought was really cool in Doom 1. So with like cell shading and like very stylized textures, kind of like in Borderlands, which was very big at the time that we were doing Wrack. And just we went with like a really fast paced movement speed. So it's just blisteringly fast, maybe too fast. It's like I go back and play that, after playing some more modern things. I'm like, whoa, this is maybe a little too much. Faster than like Quake, I think, which is probably like the fastest thing that people still play. So we did that. We tried to take like a bunch of other things that like really worked for Doom, like the modding. It's like we built our own level editor and built our own engine and kind of had all these great ways for people to make mods and maps, but it turns out you need like a really big community for that to really pay off. So something besides the Doom community, which is just massive, it's still growing, which to me is just amazing. 2019, it's still growing. It's pretty incredible. So
I have to be completely 100% honest. I have no idea what Skulltag is.
Okay,
I've been informed by these gentlemen sitting on the bed staring at us like creeps that it was the best thing, and I need to know, I guess, like what made it special. And
it was a lot of things, but I think the main thing that people liked about it was the multiplayer aspect of it. It was one of the first to like really get like client server architecture for Doom like really working well. It's like there was like CS Doom originally, and that was like kind of like the prototype for all this stuff, and it got the ball rolling, but it wasn't like executed like all that great. And then there was like Z-Daemon, which kind of had its problems and didn't like update enough. And then Skulltag came along, and I think it did a lot of things right, and it did it fixed up a lot of netcode issues, and then it added just it was supposed to be like a modern version of Doom, full mod support, full everything, whereas like the other ports were kind of more old school oriented, especially like Otomex now, which people were, I guess they were using for the tournament. Anyway,
I heard there was some backlash. We're at Quakecon, in case anyone was wondering. There was some backlash issues with the organization of the tournament that a lot of people didn't really seem to agree with. I'm looking at them. But I mean,
people being in the brackets twice.
But let's put it this way: like it's good that the fact that Doom 2 is getting exposure like that. Yeah. Because people are kids are going to see that stream. I literally saw kids watching Jahar cast that, and OD and Spud Hunter. I think did an excellent job casting.
And by the way, they are excellent casters. Yeah. So, like Jahar is someone I've known in the Skulltag community, and he does a great job. Like it's great seeing his enthusiasm for.
If you're listening
for
to
casting,
this, Jahar, I love you. I want your blood.
I do too.
No, no. I thought it was a really interesting picks. I didn't really expect to see like Boov and Spud Hunter in the casting booth for Doom, but I was very impressed by both of their knowledge, especially like Spud Hunter. I really didn't see that coming, and I thought he did a great fucking job.
Yeah, good for him.
So far, we've seen like FFA and TDM. Yeah, I would.
And I guess the duel is tomorrow.
Yeah. I would like to kind of like. What was your like approach to Skulltag? Like, what made Skulltag special? Is what I guess is what I'm asking. Like, why are these guys telling me that it was the best and these other and like Odomex sucks? Like, I don't get it. Like, I just come from the outside, so I really like to kind of like have some sort of understanding of like why.
I think there's. I'd be curious to get their input on it, but I guess any multiplayer game is as good as its community. And I think we try to foster like a great community. You know, it's like we try to be inclusive. We try to have fun. We try to throw events to, you know, make people feel welcome and, you know, like they were part of something. You know, it's like we did like FFA, you know, or FNF, you know, Friday Night Frag Fest. You know, I try to do like all sorts of like mapping. You know, we try to do like community projects and stuff. You know, and we tried to, you know, have like a cool chat room on IRC back then, the precursor to Discord. But you know, it's we try to do a lot with that, and then at the same time, it's like try to put out like a quality product. You know, it's we try to keep things updated, try to add new and exciting things to, you know, kind of keep the community invigorated. You know, yeah, I think it's most of it.
So yeah, Dew here. I will just say that like a few bullet points. So basically, first thing I should say, most people who are new should know that basically when we're talking about Skulltag is the predecessor to what's nowadays known as Zandronum. That's like the evolution of that port. So, yep, Zandronum, like probably everyone knows that name. Like everyone familiar with Doom multiplayer community should know what that is.
I did not come up with that name, by the way.
Yes, no one did come up with that name. They were like
it's by committee.
That's a funny story. We could probably tell at a later point. Another bullet point, and I'm drawing a blank because
we're talking about what made it such a great port.
Yes. Zandronum always focused on like the forward thinking, the progression. Like it always was like one step ahead of the other ports, whatever they were. The Demon in particular only ever added something when the devs themselves wanted it, and it then went through like a long process of actually adding it hard-coded. Meanwhile, Skulltag always played like fast and loose. Just add it, and
we went fast and we broke things. You know,
yeah,
very fast and loose. But, yeah. But we learned a lot from it, so.
And it meant that it attracted the people that wanted to experiment, that wanted to see new shit in Doom, and it meant that a lot of times things would be broken. But it also was like more exciting to the people who weren't just looking for the same old duels or same old CDF.
It's been very interesting to me, like seeing something like Overwatch, which, you know, something similar. It's like a multiplayer kind of game, but it's like they've gone through like the same kinds of things that like we went through, or at least have been concerned about that. Like for instance, you know, it's like I think they've wanted to do things to like limit the amount of like different game modes they have, because they don't want to like segment the community and like divide up. You know, it's, you know, when you added something new, sometimes like you're cannibalizing the other modes you have. So, you know, if people are doing like CTF in that, then they're not playing free for all or, you know, team deathmatch or whatever. And you can kind of hurt the populations of those, make it more difficult to find matches. And, you know, I mean, multiplayer, like, you know, it's a very delicate thing. You know, it's like you think like, oh, you just put like multiplayer in a game and everyone will play it, it'll be great. No, it is not like that at all. Like, if you don't have like a healthy population for it, like it just crumbles. Because people go to play and then, I can't find a match. So then they're not putting themselves into the matchmaking pool and it just crumbles. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, for me as a player, and this HumanBones again, crashing my third or fourth podcast here. But I have to approach it as a player because I was never a mapper. I was never a coder or anything. And so when I discovered online Doom, I was probably 11 or 12. And I started playing Z-Daemon, which had just recently the big game mode with CTF. And I mean, that was great, but then I somehow discovered Skulltag. And I mean, all the different game modes, which some of these ports still don't have, like Team Last Man Standing. I mean, some of that stuff was the most fun that I've ever had. Friday Night Frag Fest, that was like every Friday, that was like a mini Quakecon to me. I mean, it was just this huge community event.
I've seen like the Dusk people like try and emulate that. It's like they have like Dusk World Frag Night or something. Saturday night? Okay.
Well, and it goes to show, I mean, the term FNF, Friday Night Frag Fest, has survived for 15 years, even through the transition into Zandronum, into our hands now. So we run FNF. It's not called Friday Night Frag Fest anymore, but it just goes, that's like such a known thing in the Doom community still. So I don't know. For me, I really liked the community that Skulltag created. I mean, it's interesting because I think I probably played more Z-Daemon than Skulltag, but the people that I met on Skulltag are still people that I talk to more to this day than anybody else I ever met anywhere. And I felt like the smaller community, the close-knit community, we were able to work together, and Karn was always listening to the players and trying to implement things that kind of, to use a term that you said earlier, to push the envelope. And I think it just made Doom really more exciting. I mean, you can't just develop the same game that's 25 years old, I mean, 25 now, right. But, you have to do some different things to make it exciting. And I don't know, I always really enjoyed, the grenade launcher, or that just a simple thing like that really changed the dynamic of Doom. And I think that's why so many people, were so passionate about Skulltag.
And I think people who wanted like a more just like pure Doom experience, like they already had that served like in so many other places, like with Z-Daemon and Otomex and just pure vanilla, pure boom, whatever. But yeah.
So you mentioned like the kind of Dusk trying to emulate what went on.
I think I haven't like fully investigated, but it sounded like a very similar concept.
Yeah, essentially what they do is that every Friday night, I already said Saturday. Every Saturday night they have the Midwest United States server, which is central. Anybody in North America could pretty much connect with decent ping. And then it's just like literally it is exactly what it is. It's a free for all. Everyone gets in there and plays FFA. And essentially right now in Dusk, the only mode you really have is FFA. And then the translation of that is to like duels are just, and it's 5-minute matches. 5-minute FFA or duels is essentially what you see. Brandflakes of the Keep, who is amazing. If you haven't heard of her, she runs the Keep's duels, but everything in Dusk is 5 minutes long.
Gotcha.
But it feels like 30 minutes because Dusk is infinitely faster than Doom or Quake in so many ways. However, I would definitely say that the attempt by the two Daves, as I'm going to call them, Austri and Szymanski, to create that game and to like curate it has been, to me, really impressive.
Yeah.
Like, especially knowing that they're both kind of Doom guys and that they came from that. And obviously there's some Quake influence that you see straight.
You just see how passionate they are about, like how much they care about the game and put together a great community and everything. I admire it a lot.
I admire the fact that they are so dedicated to just making these retro FPS games, because they could easily they could bank in on any market they want, but they're really like a medieval huge success. And then what's the new one? Action.
Maximum Action.
Action, yeah. Like that looks. Use the word ridiculous in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
That shit looks just fucking incredibly.
Which I think is kind of like what the title is getting at. You know?
It's a game all about recording demos, basically, which is cool. But and that's got to be a throwback to. I won't give. To be fair, Szymanski didn't work on most of this. He worked on Dusk.
Right. I think he's starting to like work on the other titles a little bit. I'm not.
I think what they do is they kind of. I'll have to talk to them. I think they just like pick up indie titles and then they like you're under New Blood now.
I think that happened with Maximum Action for sure.
Yeah. But to just have a game like Maximum Action, it's literally like the whole point of the game is to record demos. Like, don't tell me that didn't come from the Doom community.
Right. Yeah.
But like these weird slow motion. Have you seen the game? Okay, I'll describe it. Basically, it's like a single player game, and you run into a room, sort of like think Hotline Miami or something like that, but like a first person, XYZ shooter. The whole point of the game is to dive in slow motion and cap motherfuckers, like in an action movie. So like, I don't understand why like they're not thinking about money, which is good. They're already making money, but that's a testament to their dedication to what they're doing.
Right.
Which kind of comes back to what you were talking about, like you're way ahead of time, way before anyone else was thinking about this. You're like, I want to make these retro kind of FPS games. I'm really interested in that, and I wish I had more time to like really dig into this. I'll let you guys do it, please, and then I'll edit your voices to sound like mine after I leave.
We use the deep fakes to make it sound like...
We'll deep fake HumanBones to be Motherload. With all that said, what inspired you? I mean, you could say like, yeah, Doom inspired me, but like, what made you want to keep that exact genre? The 90s pixelated FPS that like it's not going to attract. It's only going to attract a certain type of person.
Right.
But that certain type of person is guaranteed to buy it.
I think I just believed in like the genre. It's like I fundamentally believe in like exploration of levels and fast speed and keeping your weapons shooting things. I just feel it's like new people needed to be exposed to it and like they'll love it. Like it's to me it kind of like transcend any kind of like trend of the moment. So I feel like it's more than like just people like who grew up on those kind of games would enjoy it. I think it's broader than that. I think they're just like great games with great fundamental concepts, and just people see them, they'll love it.
Yeah, we've seen that. I've seen that every day that we've been at Quakecon for 3 days now since Wednesday night, essentially, and it's just incredible to me. Like the people that are watching the Doom tournaments.
Yeah.
It's like a dad and then all of his kids.
Yeah. It's like we've been talking about it all day. It's like Doom World is like getting like new members and like. They're not like 40, it's like these are, young people who are, discovering this game and loving it.
I haven't published anything. I've just been like, we've been shilling our flyers everywhere, but like I've already seen like new members of the Keep, new members popping up in your Discord as well, Bones, but
I literally got a flyer for this podcast and subscribed to it and then was like approached by, by Dew.
Well, I got to give a testament to both of these guys because they like you can't take a piss at QuakeCon without seeing in the Keeps logo at least.
But I'm like, yeah. But I'm like, podcasts about old school, like that's perfect. It's right up my alley.
I don't know why I came up with the idea to do this. It's a punishment. The Drowned God Cathala compels me.
I used to do a podcast about game design. Like it was so much work. It's like people don't know the amount of work that goes into some of these things, especially if you're like going in and editing out like the uhs and the ums.
If you're trying to like be legit and really produce a podcast, it is a huge
like a day an episode. It's like, oh my god,
mastering it and editing it. I don't like edit out anything anyone says. I just I don't want it to be like
right yeah
like, especially on Discord the long pauses that you get
yeah.
No, it's cool. Like I did a podcast a long time ago that you guys will never find listening to this, but it was just basically about like pro wrestling and like local like heavy metal bands and stupid shit like that. And
I'm gonna find it. No, I'm not. No.
And I didn't know anything about audio editing. I had another guy that kind of did that for me, and then State of Quake picked up in the Keep to kind of like supplement them for a while, which was great. And the whole opportunity that I got to do this, and is why I'm also about to leave here pretty soon. But those guys were so cool to me, and Unkind actually did all the editing, and I had to like learn recently how to dive deep into Audacity.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot. And the real work is remembering to give everyone who contributes to it credit.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever forgotten anybody, but like the music and the artwork and the person you're interviewing, because not all podcasts are interview based like this.
Right.
To talk to someone and then everything that they've ever done, like make sure that at least there's a window into that for the viewer. Because if they listen to you, or if I was like, okay, here's a Carnivil, and then like there's nothing about you in the show notes, like, oh, what the fuck with that? I'm not even doing you a service. Yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah,
and I get to meet really interesting people, all of you people in this room right now. So I love it, and I hope that you got something out of your experience.
I did. Yeah.
Well, so what did you guys do? Like, what was kind of the
podcast I did? Yeah. It was like we just talked about like game design. It's like, we would find like some kind of like unique like part of game design. It's like balance, for instance. And then we just like talk about yeah, exactly. He said the curse word. It's so like all we'd mention kind of like what it is, and it's kind of what you can do to achieve it, and then just kind of talk about a bunch of games that like did it right, did it poorly in many cases. But it's like every week, just try and get like a topic like that and talk about it with a guest, and it was hard to sustain because it's like I'm like writing like a script like for the intro and like flagging down a guest and like finding a topic. It's a lot, but it's worth it. It's I encourage anyone who is kind of interested in game design at all to go give it a listen.
Did you get any like really cool like names that are like at the time were small but like kind of blew up over time?
I don't think so. There's a guy who's doing a game called Black Ice, and it's done by a guy named Garrett Cooper. It seems like it's doing pretty well. It's doing decently on Steam, but it's like a cyberpunk kind of like hacking game. It's first person, so it's like very cool. Yeah, a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I haven't played System Shock, but yeah, it's I think I might have mentioned that's one of the inspirations. Yeah. It was a while ago, but yeah. But yeah, I can never really like work up the courage to like ask anyone like really big, like John Romero, like to come on it. It's just
John Romero, if you're listening to this,
we'll bring the podcast back. We'll bring you on.
We're coming for you.
But it's and then I would just start to listen to like other podcasts like afterwards, and I was like, oh, they just have like, the same guests every week. Oh, that's so much easier. Why didn't I do that? It's just
recurring guests are the worst.
Yeah, or it's just like. Or it's just like straight up interview format. It's like, like we just did this like very impromptu, and it's like, that's great. Like, you still get to have a great conversation, and you don't have to like saddle yourself with like, oh, it has to be perfect. It has to have a theme, and that's that. Just
you can tell when someone does a podcast that isn't a fan of podcasts. Like a big thing for me, at least, is that I listen to podcasts religiously. I'm like a huge fan. Like for anyone who gives a fuck. I listen to Joe Rogan religiously.
Oh my god, he's the best.
And like Mark Maron and like Sam Harris, tangentially speaking with Dr. Chris Ryan, all that shit. I'm really into that, and so I listen to that, but I listen to it like on like a level of like, okay, what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And I know some people like have never heard a podcast, don't even know what the fuck a podcast is, and I'm like.
Well, yeah, some people are like 90. So,
but some people really don't. And, like they're legitimately just people all over the place. Like they're not even aware that this podcast thing exists, even though it's like the most successful medium.
Yeah, it's gotten huge in recent years.
And to try to explain it to someone is weird. But when I listen to, I don't know, I'll say tangentially speaking, just for the sake of saying so, I feel like I get lost in the conversation, and I feel like. If I can, talk to someone like you, and I can talk to someone like HumanBones and Dew, even though they may have never heard of them or me or, whatever the case, like there's going to be people that click on it because of your name and not because of mine. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's great to know that, because they click on the initial link because of you and they get lost in that conversation and they get, the brand of, whatever the fuck it is, they hit that subscribe button, whatever it is. They will therefore, then get bored one day or like go back through their download logs in their phone or whatever the fuck, and then they're going to hear about all the other things that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say like, oh, I want to click on that link, and they're going to listen to your podcast. They'll hear my interviews with other Limitless Hunger is another game that I've kind of like put some stock into, And I would like for people to be, well, I don't really know what the fuck this is, but I do know that I like to hear the Motherlode interview people, so they click on it.
Right,
I think
right.
that's cool.
Yeah. It's like the format. I definitely think is like interesting, because like podcasts like tend to go like a lot longer. So it's like you like really dig into like a lot of different issues and really go deep into them, and it can lead you down a lot of different paths. I know a lot of people have done go down rabbit holes when they listen to someone interesting on a podcast.
So what do you think about the current president?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like Joe Rogan recently had. Did you see the one with Bob Lazar?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Naruto. Running. Area 51. They're gonna get shot.
They're all dead. Like the government will just send Gandalf out and just be like, none shall pass, and it's just stop them all in their tracks. But I mean, that was just so fascinating. Yeah.
Dude, I'd like to. If Alex Jones told me he played Quake, I'd have him on the podcast. I don't care. I know people don't like him, and I don't necessarily agree with anything.
My mom's a huge fan of his, or at least was.
Yeah, I don't agree with anything he says. But if Alex Jones was like, I play Quake, I'd be like, you're on the show, bro. Yeah, you're definitely coming on the show. There's no question about it. Like, of course, I want to know, like, because
so how are the aliens at Quake?
That's the thing is like in the Doom community, and yeah.
Does that exist?
Probably does.
Okay.
The Trump Doom does exist, and it's awesome. If you haven't tried it, Trump Doom is real, and it's essentially Hillary Clinton is like leading a legion of aliens to take over America, and you have to play as Donald Trump to like take over. It's amazing. Icarus Lives had a great video about it, but
it's weird. It's weird. It's like you don't know if it's set higher or not. It's like it's treading the line.
Yeah, I just thought it was creative. Pretend that none of that stuff's real. Pretend Donald Trump is not a real person. Hillary Clinton's not a real person. That the story of that wad is just like solid. It's like that's exactly the kind of movie I want to watch.
Yeah, I think that's part of what attracts new people to Doom. You get these memes out there, and people
Sonic
think it's funny, and then they realize, oh, hey, there's actually, it's actually a great game. There's actually some great things out there.
Crash Bandicoot, whoa, Doom, like anything. You can do anything in Doom, but I don't know, man. I really feel guilty because it's like time for me to go. And I hate this because I really want to talk more to you. But I will leave you in the capable hands of Multiplayer Doom Federation Radio Network. And if you guys at any point decide to stop this thing, which I hope you don't, but if you do, just push the stop button on this thing right here.
We'll be here for 7 hours.
Yeah, I'm going to sign
we'll never
off.
Stop.
I'm going to go cast the State of Quake tournament. Before I go, it was my esteemed pleasure. I wish I could have been here longer, and we'll catch up on Discord and do a second episode.
Absolutely.
Okay. Goodbye.
Appreciate it. And good luck casting.
Get that back to me because it's expensive.
It's already going into my bag as you leave the room.
He's putting his name tag on it.
No, I think the really interesting thing too is, we've been running a lot of different tournaments, and we actually ran one that was a Skulltag tournament.
Oh, really?
And we got, how many teams did we get? I think we got at least 12 people, which...
That's pretty good.
Yeah, teams of 3.
We got more than that. I think we got 16. We got like a full set of teams, and it was
pretty good for a port that's not
and like
actively developed anymore.
Sure.
Or anything.
And this was for basically the like Tasco value CTF because no one like looked at Skulltag in 10 years basically.
Right. Yeah.
And we played all those old maps that were basically like remakes of the CTF maps, but still people like flocked to it, gave it the chance, and had their fun with it. Like, of course, everyone immediately recognized like the problems. Like, yeah, this doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
It would work if someone like thought about it in bigger detail, but that's like you had that problem with everything.
Yeah.
Every
and like honestly, like that's part of why I wanted to like branch out and like go do my own thing, because it's like just doing things in the Doom community. It's like people are doing things like just kind of as a hobby. it's like they're not necessarily going to want to put in, the honestly a ton of work that goes into, like really super polishing something up, making it error free and fixing all the issues. Like, I mean, you can only kind of get that in like kind of a commercial environment, where it's like people's jobs and they're getting paid to do these things. You hope they're still passionate about it. They care, but like when they're earning money doing that, it's like they can allocate more time to getting things right. And,
sure, like when money gets involved, that's kind of like that's what you're like. You went commercial with Wrack, basically. I mean, like at the pure amateur level. We recently kind of like revived 3-way CTF.
Oh, cool.
Which is like, everyone was like, 3-way CTF? Are you guys crazy? That was a joke even 10 years ago. And we got like a 32 and 24 session going for it.
That's cool.
Which produced a lot of like really cool maps. And all of a sudden, it's like one of the most popular like game modes we're running in the tournaments. Because like, everyone was just so bored with the same old CTF all the time, duels all the time. Like, all of a sudden, playing 3-way CTF on decent maps that aren't like this bottom-feeding garbage that was produced because no one knew what they were doing. And, like, this could happen to pretty much anything. Like, it's just, when there's attention, things that just get progressively developed and they just grow better.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's like when you're small or like kind of like a modding or indie scene, you can do things like to really shake things up in like a really dramatic way. It's like as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how it's like something like, I don't know, League of Legends or something. It's like it's only one way to play, one map and blah blah blah. So it's like the developers, like they can't do anything like really crazy to shake things up. They can like tweak a couple heroes, tweak a couple abilities, tweak some numbers around. And that's kind of like all they can really do to like kind of, invigorate things. But it's like when you're small, it's like, let's try a new game mode, let's do some new CTF, let's do one flag CTF. And like, that's, Let's do that to make things interesting. And it's like you just don't have to worry as much. It's you're a lot more flexible. It's oops. Oh, we have a bit of a spill situation. But it's like if people don't like it, like let's say say you do this, make these changes, and people are like you can easily like revert back, and that's no love lost with anyone. You can afford to take those risks. Whereas if you're this giant monolithic, if you're Bethesda or something, you really have a tough time, kind of, pretty much.
And the thing that really bums me out about, the Doom community 10, 15 years ago is I think everyone was just they were so angry about everything. They were so...
It's 2019, that hasn't changed. Just look at Twitter.
It's changed a little. Like, I think because the community's gotten smaller and people are like, oh, wow, maybe some of the decisions that I made that pissed off, really prominent members of the community, and they said, "Well, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to leave." Maybe that had a negative effect on us. Maybe, so I don't know. I feel differently about it, but I feel also that Skulltag the port could have had much more. It could have been a better experience for you. If it took place in today's
probably
Doom community, and of course he doesn't know this yet, but an old friend of ours, Shaiko10, I'm going to try to push him to do a 32 and 24 with Skulltag maps. It probably won't go over, and he'll probably tell me to, get out of his face.
It's okay. I signed his shitpost book, so maybe now that happens.
Yeah, but it's just like you were saying. It's stuff like that where you revisit things and you say, okay, like this was a good idea. It has potential. Why did we abandon this? Let's take another look at this and let's try and maybe figure this out. But,
yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about the entire genre. It's like I feel like people were there was something great here, people just kind of abandon it because like, oh, we've decided Half-Life is the new big thing. Let's all make everything like Half-Life, and and like this genre just got forgotten. That's kind of why I wanted to try and revive it with Wrack. So.
Yeah, but this this new fad thing that's been in Doom community forever. Like Doom community literally died when Quake came. Like everyone was like leaving for Quake, right?
Right.
There was just only the small bastion of people who were like saying that Quake sucks, which means that one of the first clans out there was the clan QS. Literally, it never led to the death of Doom.
Right.
So
yeah.
like Doom endures. So we're just taking in the new.
And it's like maybe that was part of my problem. It's like I was trying to build something to appeal to a market that actually was satisfied. It's like these, people had Doom. They're perfectly happy with all the mods and everything. It's like they're not looking for something.
No,
something new. I'd be very curious about like what Dusk did, or like with their marketing. That it's like they got new people into it. Like they weren't trying to sell Dusk to like existing Doom players.
I think you were. Like, you hit gold and you were pounding it for a lot of years, like with Skulltag. That was just like, it was the multiplayer companion to Zed Doom with all of its.
Yeah. It took it a long time to be number one, though. Like while I was working on it, it was like we were actively trying to like overtake Z-Demon, and like it took a long time, but it got there.
Because Z-Demon was always like on the like more hardcore.
Yeah. It's very rigid. And like
rigid,
I think this modern
rigid is the perfect word.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like I don't think even they would like object to the word, because that's like kind of the goal.
Yeah.
So it's like different mindset.
Yeah.
And like all those petty battles of the past were just basically because people were just striving to be the number one.
Right.
But the goals were slightly different. So it was like those two things should have coexisted.
Yeah.
From moment one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They like always, Skulltag and Z-Demon had different goals.
Yeah. But at the same time, I fully admit I am a competitive person. I want to succeed. I want to be successful, and
And back then, like,
and plus,
shit talking was just daily regime.
Right. Yeah. and like plus, like I thought there was more potential for what we were doing. It's like Doom and an older game at that point. Like it's gonna do better with like new things added. To it.
But on the other way, like nowadays, you probably need. That there's this nostalgia factor where the purists want to keep shit pure, and like
I understand that.
Yeah, it's completely valid, because you need to have that pure part,
right?
Even though Z-Demon is far from that, actually. Like let's be honest, like pure Doom, still somewhere else. But yeah, like there needs to be like the purist option and the progressive option. That's healthy.
Right.
So actually, even though there was like a lot of bickering and a lot of like unnecessary hate, there was healthy like competition and progress, actually.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So that it was kind of complementary, actually.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. But I've always been someone who's wanted to kind of push things and do new things and try and innovate. It's it's kind of a lot of my pushback has always been for like the people who don't want that. It's like just keep stay in place. Just don't shake the boat too much. Just do what we know. Be safe. It's like I don't want to do that.
Right, and it wasn't just rigid in the way that it was coded, but also. Just dueling, it had to be 50 frags, and it has to be on, D5M1, and no time limit, and all these things. And then you take sort of what Skulltag did, which was they had the 10 frag duels, Green War Map 20, the other Green War map, which is amazing. But, it just gave another perspective To this day,
we had like
I
a
think-
queue and everything. God, that was
Yeah.
great. I loved that.
Yeah.
Countdown for the next one. Just yeah.
Well, then
yeah.
just right up on the screen, it's like ST Carnevil versus, and it's got the colors in there. It was just, I don't know. It was really awesome. It was like an arcade game. It was just, it was a lot of fun, but it gave you another perspective. And it's okay, 10 frag duels. These can be competitive. That just changes your strategy completely.
Yeah.
And especially again, minigun, grenade launcher.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up. It's like we were afraid. Bleh. We weren't afraid to do things to like try and improve like the base gameplay, like even if it wasn't pure. It's like Doom didn't have a minigun, but it's like, but the chain gun sucked, and like we needed more viable options to balance out the super shotgun, so it wasn't like completely OP. And like a minigun was a great way to do that.
Yeah. So before it gets away from me, you mentioned that you were also working on the sequel or the answer to Wrack. Do you want to talk a little bit about
which by the way, I just wanted to go into because we just finished a minigun in that game.
Yeah.
A minigun that was modeled for Wrack, but then it got scrapped because there wasn't enough interest to do more of that. So we pivoted. But yeah, so like Exoverse, it's so like, we tried to do Wrack, and again, it was an old school inspired shooter, but we tried to do some like new interesting things with it. One of them was like trying to like fuse it with like a platformer game, not like platforming, like jumping around, but it's like mini bosses and like lives and checkpoints and a lot of that kind of stuff that people didn't really like too much, which is part of like just the evolving gaming climate. It's like certain mechanics, people don't like, and they get, discarded, and we decide we don't like those things anymore. So, it's like we tried to have some of those in Wrack, and they didn't work out. But, there were like some really cool things we tried to do. Like, it's like we wanted to like really up the arcade aspect of it. So, there's like a kill chain, like thing, as you kill monsters one after the other, little kind of thing goes up, and you get like points for that. And like we thought those things were kind of cool, like they made the game like unique, but like a lot of what we were trying to do like didn't really work in like an old school shooter kind of game. So it's like when Wrack came out, it had some success, but it wasn't like we were really hoping for like something kind of like what Dusk is going through, where it's like people were really into it, or at least like they thought that like like there was like potential here, but like we didn't really see that.
Do you think it was just because like kind of like you did that ahead of the time, because like at that point you released it in the Call of Duty era, basically.
Right, yeah.
While now people are pretty much like hungry. There's a whole market for the nostalgia shooters.
Yeah. I think like when we came out, it's like I think some of the developers kind of saw like what the response was, and like kind of some missteps we made. Again, like this is our first game. Like we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna do things wrong. We're gonna make bad decisions, and try and improve on all that in the future. But I think they saw kind of the way people responded, and they could take that information and kind of make tweaks and do things a little differently and do things in a little bit more appealing of a way. And I think they brilliantly did that with Dusk, and I think that's why it's been such a hit. It's a lot more faithful to being old school and retro than kind of what we wanted to be. Like we weren't actually like trying to be like a retro game. We were just kind of like, let's make a new game that kind of uses these kinds of mechanics and things that we believe in. Let's make like a 2014 version of that. Like these games never went away. Instead of us trying to like emulate, like pixels the size of watermelons and, things like that. So
is that a jab at Strafe?
No. It's really not a jab at anything.
No, I mean, like, but every time like old school shooters get brought up in these days, everyone just mentions Dusk, because Dusk is the game that hit gold. It's kind of like,
I think Medieval is pretty close too.
Yeah, but there were a lot of pretenders. Like there were a lot of that games that kind of like went for that angle, but fell short.
Right.
And I know,
and I think Wrack was one of
Yeah,
those. And,
and
you
I
know,
don't
maybe
mean to
we'll go back and fix
Sure.
it. We'll see.
And I don't mean to single strafe. It just came to my mind as one of those games that pretended to be like this, and then it wasn't.
See, I was thinking about Strife, and I'm like, what? No, what? No, but
Not Strife.
yeah, Strafe. Okay, yes, Strafe. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah,
and there were
copyright 1996. Yeah.
There were a lot of these. Like they
Yeah,
tried
yeah,
to channel
right.
the nostalgia factor, but they were just like kind of like a modern game that was just pixelated.
Right. Yeah.
So
And like honestly, that's always like bothered me. You know, like when Shovel Knight came out and was like, you know, this like massive like success. You know, like part of me like didn't like that because I'm like, oh my god, this is cheap. All you're doing is like just doing, you know, like 8-bit graphics and oh my god, you've triggered everyone's nostalgia. But you know, then I played it and it's like, okay, it's actually an amazing game. Like, you know, it's not a, you know, mind hack, you know. Just put pixels on the screen and then everyone throws money at you. You know, they actually did a great job. So amazing soundtrack, by the way.
So having left, you know, sort of the Doom community behind, with these games, you know, I know you're trying to sort of, I wouldn't say recreate, you know, the feeling of Doom, but you're certainly making them in the same vein.
Yeah, it's you know, it's very influential. You know, it's been a big part of my life.
Do you find like you having a lot of success with building a community, or are you finding that to be a struggle?
No, I mean honestly, like that's been the most challenging thing. You know, it's you know, I mean, I feel like I'm a good developer. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm a good developer. You know, I'm very very technical. You know, it's the amount I've learned just over the past like 4 or 5 years. Like just on like it's been incredible, and you know, and I'm so proud of like what all of our other developers have done. You know, it's like Exoverse is like, it's a beautiful looking game now. Like, you know, and when we launched in early access last year, like it was definitely, there were a lot of rough parts to it, but you know, it's mostly been smoothed out. But you know, we have some really talented people working for us, and like we're really firing on all cylinders when it comes to development. But you know, at the same time, it's like now we don't like have resources, and you know, it's like just building the community is like been by far like the most difficult thing. And you know, it's I mean, us doing this game in the first place, you know, we're like bending over backwards trying to like do something that you guys will like. You know, I mean, part of what I noticed like after, you know, Wrack, you know, and was doing some soul searching, and then it's, you know, I was looking at, you know, some other games that were like really successful, like Crypto the Necrodancer is one of them. And I was just noticing that it's like, you know, people like just the concept, you know, it's like people are almost like sold like just like right from that point. So, you know, it's like the idea behind your game has to be like really interesting and captivating, you know, so that, you know, people will, you know, be interested. So, you know, I kind of, you know, did some, you know, some thinking of like an idea, and I was like, you know, what if we did a tower defense roguelike? You know, so it's like, so every time, like, you know, you're going to, you know, play the game, it's different. Because, you know, it's like the problem with like a tower defense game. It's like, you know, once you kind of figure out like the optimal setup, it's like, it's not really much challenge to it. You know, it's you kind of know what to do. But yeah, if you're changing things up every time, you know, then it's interesting. You know, you got something you can play over and over again. You know, and so, you know, we kind of basically made like a first person shooter version of like the Binding of Isaac, you know, where it's like you're getting like all these crazy power ups, you know, it's working on getting dual wielding in there right now. But, you know, it's like we got things that, you know, add like spread shots to everything. We got things that like make your bullets explode with like poison clouds and stuff. So it's like we wanted to just have something that's been, you know, like a really captivating idea. And I think we've had that, but you know, it's very hard in the Doom community because, you know, it's like the people who have been around, you know, the people who are attracted to the original Wrack game, which is old school, you know, usually people who like Doom, you know, I mean, those people like aren't into tower defense really. So, I mean, that's kind of in a tough spot, you know, that we've, you know, because we haven't had that initial energy from like the community, you know, then it's hard to like get it exposed to like new people who would be interested in that kind of thing. So it's, you know, in Wrack, we had a tough time building a community. And, you know, that's been a tough time this one. Unfortunately, you know, like when I went to, you know, start with Wrack, the entire community didn't migrate over, unfortunately. Not even like a small degree. It was like almost none. It's funny, and I've heard about this happening with other people. If you start like making something like for free, and then like you start doing something else and like start charging for it, a lot of those people like feel like, what the hell, man? It's like you were giving me this free thing and now you're charging. Like that's fucked up, and it's like
you gotta make a living.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, you're understanding, but I mean, a lot of people aren't, and they just feel like, oh, I was getting a free thing, now it's money. Oh.
So basically, you're reliving the Team TNT experience from.
Did that happen to them?
Well, it was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Evolution was supposed to be a free release, and then they sold it to id. And
then John Romero's like, we think you should be able to eat, and then everyone's like, boo!
Yeah, and then they had to make Icarus as a sort of apology.
Really?
Icarus is not really a good word, so it's not really a good apology.
Well, the Plutonic experiment was better anyway, so
Sure, yeah. I agree with that one.
That seems to be the consensus. I don't know for sure, but
at least among the Doom community. The scraps think differently.
but Evolution had new music, so that's kind of cool, So,
Well, I mean, here we are. You have the ability to reach. I mean, I think what's great about this particular podcast is that it reaches so many different subgroups and sub-communities, and it's really trying to unite people around not a specific game, but just a group of games. So I'm curious if there's anything that, whether you want to share it or not, but anything that you're really looking for from someone that is interested or someone that wants to join the community. Is there anything that you feel like that you're missing?
It's. I mean, I think you guys can attest to this from being part of the Skulltag community. Like and I think the people I've attracted. It's like we love games. It's like at the end of the day, like I just want people to be happy. It's like I just want to make a game that people enjoy playing, and that they have fun with, and they enjoy. Like, I mean, to me, like that's the most important thing. It's like I don't want people to like buy this game and then just like have it in their Steam library and it just kind of sits there, gathers dust. Like that breaks my heart. Like, I want people to like play the game and enjoy it. Like, it was the same in Skulltag. It's the same today, and it's, and I think we have a bunch of people in the community who, feel the same way. They enjoy playing games. They want to have fun. We're all a bunch of fun-loving people. And, I mean, probably others wouldn't say like, "Oh, I'm not fun-loving." So but but it's we love games. We talk about like the game design and the game development kind of aspect of things. I know we have a bunch of people on our Discord who are also like game developers, and I've been posting a bunch of like kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff about like Exoverse, like, oh, here's how this thing works. Here's how we render our levels, and it's like a little animated GIF of like all the different effects that go into it. A lot of people have found that pretty interesting. So it's, I don't know, we have fun. It's I mean, part of what made Skulltag so great, was like just like the feedback from the community and like watching people enjoy things and doing the events and everything. And it's we would just love to have that same thing like happening, with us, like you see with like a, New Blood and their cool events and everything. Like we'd love to do that too. And we'd love for you out there to be part of it. So.
Yeah, and I was about to ask, have you entered 2019 and gotten yourself a Discord server? Seems like you have.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Anywhere else we can, see anything that has to do with the stuff that you're working on?
I mean, you can follow on Twitter. I am at FBE Carnevil, and that's for Final Boss Entertainment. And then Wrack Game is the account for both Wrack and Exoverse. So.
Very cool. Very cool. So, I don't know if you have, anything else that you'd like to mention, but for me, I mean, it was really great to get a chance to talk to you. It's been a really long time. I'm glad that everything's going well, and you're still trying to push that envelope and develop some new stuff. But yeah, it was really great to talk to you. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, definitely. And we shall see everyone next time.
Quake Champions players, listen up. This is important. You heard me mention State of Quake's Sacrifice Tournament during that interview. I do want to say that has sparked into something much bigger and better thanks to the hard work of Unkind, Slip, and East 5000, and I'm sure a few other people that I'm missing out on, but it's a lot going on. I want to say State of Quake will be presenting the State of Sac Sacrifice League. This is a monthly battle to see which Sacrifice team will reign supreme. With that said, it's 4 weeks of round robin matches leading up to a monthly playoff bracket, and the teams are like 6 players each. It's like 4 players on each team and 2 subs. Now, the action will kick off on September 1st, so you have a limited amount of time to sign up. You can bring your whole team, or if you're a free agent, they have a draft available for you to try to find a team. You can get more information about that. Go to their Twitter. I believe that's Twitter/State of Quake. Their Twitch stream, if you want to watch it, is twitch.tv/State of Quake for sure. I know that. And also, make sure that you get on their Discord and you'll get all this information up front. You won't have to listen to me babble about it. So, please enjoy that. It is a fantastic event. If you're frustrated with the Quake Champions and you just want those TM modes, I'm telling you, Sacrifice is the way. It is the greatest alternative to capture the flag for this particular game. I hope you join and I hope you enjoy it. Also, do not forget to check out inthekeep.com. It is the premier place for you to find all information on the Keep. It's linked to this episode. You can find our Discord link, you can find our YouTube link, our Twitch link, all of our support pages, everything you need to know. Everything's there. So, and also all of the previous episodes, the whole entire catalog, it is available for you to listen to all you want, as well as the links to the various podcast apps where you can listen to this, because I know not everybody wants to listen on YouTube. I certainly don't. If you are, hey, you're a trooper, and I respect you. But if you want to go for a run or go get the groceries or whatever the hell, just listen to it with your headphones while you're walking around, I'm 100% for that. Please take the opportunity to go do that. A few more podcasts you may enjoy if you enjoy this one, which obviously do because you're listening to the end credits, which is crazy. I want to say Smango hosts the Retro 20. This is a podcast all about retro gaming, so like Nintendo, Sega, that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool, man. Smango is a great guy. He's a huge contributor to everything that the Keep does. He's the man. He's the myth, the legend. And also QuakeFans.net, his website, which I also do a little bit of posting on, is all about arena first-person shooters. And I assume that if you like this podcast, you like arena first-person shooters, so I don't see why you wouldn't go check out QuakeFans.net. Another podcast you'll really enjoy on YouTube, go check out Shazix Beyond Strafe Jumping. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's got amazing interviews, all on video. You can see his gorgeous, beautiful face. He's a great guy, and I'm sure you'll love his show if you love this one. And last but not least, certainly not least, the Quakecast. Dump Truck, NRC, and sometimes JCR are always kicking ass on the Quakecast, man. It's all about Quake and the games that it inspires. And you get to hear a plethora of people like mappers, like all kind of cool stuff, man. Like speedrunners. If you like this show, I can't think of any good reason why you wouldn't like Quakecast. Please go check them out. It would mean a lot to me because I'm a huge fan and I just want to see them grow. That's it for me. Don't forget, man, if you're feeling down, always remember the drowned god, Cathala, values you. Get those frags and gibs in. Stay part of this community and stay in the Keep.